Welcome to Pixel Point Training Module 2. Today we're going to learn the general operations of how to take a delivery order. On delivery orders, we're typically taking them over the telephone. Once the phone rings and you've answered it and ascertained that the customer wants a delivery, you'll start by pushing the button that says Quick Order. This takes us to an order entry screen where we have two options. The option that we're going to use is New Check. Once we hit New Check, we are on a screen that you should already be familiar with from ringing up to Stay and To Go orders. When we're taking a delivery order, we always start with the button that says Member. Our entire system is driven off of phone numbers, and this is the button that we start with to take the customer's phone number. Once the phone number is in, you're going to touch the OK button. If the customer has never ordered before, it will say your number is not on file. Would you like to add a new member? The answer to this question is always yes. Touching yes will take us to the member screen. The cursor is blinking under first name, and the screen will guide you through how to take the order. You will say to the customer, "Can I get your name, please?" Typically, we leave the caps lock on at all times when we're using this screen. It just makes it easier to not have to deal with that. Touching the tab button will move you down to the next field. It is also touchscreen oriented, where you can move around anywhere on the screen and move the cursor by just touching the screen. After getting the customer's last name, you can hit tab and it moves you down to the name of the company. So we always want to know which company we're delivering to so we can help identify the building. We're going to say that we're delivering to Intermountain Healthcare. The next field that we tab down to is called Member Group. In this field, we can actually put our customers into different groupings. It's not exactly necessary for the delivery. So if you can do it, that's great, but if it takes too much time on the first time they're ordering, we recommend skipping that field. The next field is the address field. So we're going to get the exact address. And a lot of the times you have to help the customers give you the correct information by asking the right questions. As you ask for their address, you always want to follow that up with, is there a floor or suite number? They're going to answer that question, obviously, because you asked it, but you're actually not in a place where you can easily write it. You're just going to go right down to directions and say the answer that they give you. So if they say, yes, we're in suite 100, you immediately want to flip down to directions and put that in there. You also have a second line under the address where you can put it. Either one of those works. We typically don't use the fields unit number, buzzer code. Those just not something that we use. So once you're done with the address, you tab over. The delivery zone field is a place where you can help route your deliveries. In the beginning, it's typically not used as you are beginning to build your business, but as your delivery routes get fuller and you start to deliver to the same people over and over again, you do have a tendency to create zones where this button can be very helpful, where you can say these belong in the west or east or town delivery zone, and it helps on the delivery chart. After that, we are down to directions. So usually after I do the address, I skip right on over to email. So email is kind of a little bit tricky. We want the customer's email every single time, but sometimes they don't like to give it to us. And I like to tell people, when you're asking for the email, just be very factual about it. So you're asking them a whole bunch of questions. So you're saying, can I get your first name? Can I get your last name? Can I get the name of your business? Can I get your delivery address? Can I get your email? And usually they'll give it to you if you're very factual like that. If you say it like, can I get your email address? Like that, they have a tendency to say no. So we do want that so that we can use it for email marketing. You'll notice that the city and the state is defaulted. And then the last thing that we want is postal, which is their zip code. And we do want that every single time, so that we can use our system for mailings and use it for routing things. The more complete you make this screen, the better it will be on the whole garbage in, garbage out theory. The better this is, the better you're going to be. On our delivery directions, this is the place where you're going to ask the customer some additional questions. So we've already asked them if they had a floor or suite number, and we've put it on there. The next thing that we might ask them is your name on the outside of the building. This usually generates some information for you. A lot of the times we'll get an address and we'll just be expected to find it from the address. But if we can just ask a couple of additional questions, it can be very helpful for the delivery drivers. Is your name on the outside of the building will usually generate either a no and then a description of the building, like, no, it's not, but we're the large brown glass building on the northwest corner. Or they'll say yes, and then you can just leave it as is, because your delivery driver will know that they're looking for Intermountain Health, because there's nothing else written under the delivery instructions. Anytime the customer gives you additional delivery instructions, always type them in. I recommend to people that they don't abbreviate as they're doing this. As the drivers are out delivery driving and they're reading that ticket, it's easier for them if you spell your words out correctly and they're not having to guess your abbreviations. The last thing that we're going to do on this screen before we leave it is we're going to find out how the customer is paying. In the delivery directions right here, we actually want how they're paying to be the very first thing that is typed there. So if you've typed other things, you just put the cursor where you want it and begin to type how they're paying. There are only 3 ways that a customer pays us. The first one is cash, which would include checks also. So cash or checks. The second way is credit card. And then the third way is a house account. So let's say that these guys are going to pay with their house account. Anytime somebody says we have a house account, they usually only learn that verbiage from us. So it's something that you usually just believe and put it right there. If you need to, you can always check with the manager and make sure that they have a house account. So we always want the first words on there to be how they're paying. The last thing we're going to do before we leave this member information screen is we're going to schedule the order. Anytime we're taking an order, it is considered a future order. We're going to touch that button, and in here we can do 3 things. We can cancel an already existing schedule, we can schedule a new order, or we can change the processing time. In order to understand how the calendar works, we need to understand what the processing time means. Right now it says the order will be processed 500 minutes before the scheduled time. 500 minutes is roughly between 7 and 8 hours. So when we schedule something 7 to 8 hours before it's due, a prep ticket will print in the back. This is why when you come in the morning, all the prep tickets for that day have printed and are waiting to be filled. If an order is taken within the 500 minutes, meaning that they want this in 2 hours from now, it will automatically print because it's already within the 500 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit schedule, and then this is the calendar screen. It always defaults to today's month, today's date, and today's time as close as it can. So all you're going to do is find your time that they want to deliver. So let's say that this customer would like a delivery at 4 p.m. There are some safety features in our calendar that will not let us deliver something within a 15-minute time frame. So if I try and say 4 p.m., it's going to pop up and say the earliest we can deliver is 4:02 p.m. and the last is the year 2017. So it basically won't let us do something that is impossible for us physically to do. So there is that little bit of a safety feature in there. So let's say the customer would like a delivery tonight at 6 p.m. So we just make sure it says 6, and then we make sure that it says p.m. This not having the AM PM correct is the most often used mistake here in the calendar. So always take a second to read and make sure it says what you wanted it to say before you leave. Now that we have the order scheduled, we are ready to start taking the customer's order. And how we do that is by hitting the Use Member button. So you should be familiar with this screen. The sale type has already defaulted to delivery as it was supposed to. We are connected to this member, and you can see that I can see the name right there. If at any time I need to go back to the member screen, I can do so by hitting the member button because I am connected to this information right now. So if you're speaking to the customer and all of a sudden they remember something else, like please ask for Ashley when you get there, you can easily flip back to the member record and type further information in there and then use the member again. Now we're ready to take the order. So let's say that Allison has ordered 5 club sandwiches, all deluxe box lunches, and they just want a variety of our side dishes, and then 5 turkey and Swiss deluxe box lunches, all with a variety of side dishes. Remember that the one thing you're always going to suggest to sell to the customer is drinks. So I'm going to ask Allison, would you like any drinks with your order today? And of course, Allison needs some sodas. So we're going to order her 10 variety sodas. Once we're done taking the order, we have a couple of different things that we're going to discuss with the customer. First of all, we're going to ask them, would they like to include a gratuity for the driver? The reason why we ask that when we're taking the order is often when we deliver, we are not delivering to the person who ordered the food. More often than not, it's a secretary or just a front desk person who might be signing the order. So the actual person placing the order is not going to be the one receiving the food. Our drivers get more tips if we ask on the telephone. So you just want to say it very matter-of-factly, would you like to include a gratuity for the driver in your total? Okay, you might generate some responses from the customer, such as, is there a delivery fee? The answer to that would be no, there's not. You're welcome to give the driver a gratuity, but you're under no obligation. So at no time do we ever want to make the customers feel obligated to tip the drivers. The gratuity button works on a percentage basis. So if we hit the number 15, it's going to be 15%. Because of that, we want to make sure we're talking to the customers in the same verbiage that we want to use to put in the gratuity. So if they say, sure, I'll put a gratuity on, we don't want to say how much, because then they might say a dollar amount, which is a little bit more difficult for us to put in. Instead, we might say, is there a certain percentage that you would like to do? This can often generate the response, what is the normal percentage? And you can then say anywhere between 15 to 18%, but you're under no obligation and you can do whatever you would like. So let's say that this customer decides to give us an 18% gratuity. We're just going to put in the 18 and say okay. You'll notice that nowhere on this screen does that 18% gratuity show up. Where it shows is on the finish screen over here. That gratuity right now is considered an intent to tip. The customer does not actually tip until we go into our credit card system and say, yes, the customer gave us this tip. So right now the total with the suggested tip of 18% that we put in is $125.59. So if the customer wants to know the total of their order with the gratuity included, you always have to go to the finish screen. The finish screen is not where we're going to end this order, however. Because this is a future order, we are not taking payment right now. We're going to hit the leave button, which just takes us back to the other screen. The way to end an order that's for the future is always the save check button. This saves it to the database and everything goes away, and the prep tickets and receipts print properly according to the calendar. If we need to get a hold of that order again, we're going to go to the manager screen, to the transaction viewer, and then to the future orders tab. And we can see there's my order sitting right there, Allison Ainge. With that highlighted, we can view it and we can use that check. Once you've changed whatever you needed to change or done whatever you need to do in here, if you're not ready to accept payment yet, again, the only safe way to get out of here is the save check button.